Hey, what the hell's going on with you? Look at you and your face. Hi, what are you doing? Hey, it's Nick Digilio. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. Daily videos, almost daily. Check them out. Look, I got a ton of them now on there. I've been doing this for a bunch of months now, so scroll back. There's a lot of videos to choose from. Scroll through them. You can see all kinds of crazy-ass videos that I've done. I don't know, a couple hundred of them, I think. I don't know. There's a bunch. So you should check them out. That's what you ought to do. Is check them out. Scroll. Funny. Good, I think. I share content on Patreon, too. That's the best way to help out if you want to check out my videos. There's a ton of videos there. I add videos almost daily there as well, and I add exclusive for patron-only videos there, which are special videos and special content. Some of them behind the scenes, real stories at WGN, radio stories, real stories about what happened, how I got fired, and all that stuff that nobody else will get unless you're a patron, which means you go to patreon.com/NickDShow. You pick a tier and you donate. $3, $6, $25 a month, whatever you want. Every little bit helps. You donate every month, and then you can have access to all the videos I put there, plus all the extra bonus content, including behind-the-scenes stuff that WGN stories that nobody else gets. So you should go right now to patreon.com/NickDShow and donate. It'll help keep me going, the videos going. It's a separate thing, but it helps me to I can keep doing my podcast on a regular basis as well, but I need support and I need help. So right now, go to patreon.com/NickDShow. Stop this video for a second. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Pick a tier, donate, and then come back and watch the rest of this video after you donate. Or if you're watching it on Patreon, donate. Thank you. My podcast, every Tuesday, every Friday, new episodes, part of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network, a great podcast network. It's the Nick D Podcast. Okay, hey, bowling. Do you enjoy bowling? I haven't gone bowling in a very long time. And I think I thought bowling was going to be done, like at the beginning and during the pandemic and the lockdown and everything. I thought, man, one of the many businesses to take a hit, and I didn't know if it was going to recover, was bowling, because bowling requires you to wear other people's shoes and stick your fingers in holes that hundreds and hundreds of other people have stuck their fingers in. Yeah, sticking your fingers in holes that other people have stuck their fingers in. I'm not going to go there. The door is wide open for me to make like a pretty tasteless joke. I'm not going to do it, because if you watch these videos, you know that I'm very tactful and tasteful in my content and my language. Fuck off. Anyway, so I thought bowling would never recover, but I love bowling. I grew up going bowling. I was on leagues when I was younger. Used to bowl on a regular basis. I'm a lefty. People used to call me Earl Anthony. Hey, look, it's Earl Anthony. Not because I was a good bowler, but because I'm a lefty. And so, I bowled a lot with my friends. I was on leagues. I was a pretty good bowler. My high game's 289. I'd rather not talk about blowing the eighth frame. That's something I would rather not talk about. But anyway, my high score is 289. I think my average at one point was like 170. Was my average for a while. So I was a good bowler. I was a pretty good bowler. Had my own ball. I actually had two balls. Then I had one removed. No, that's a joke. I still have both of my testicles. But I've had, over the course of the years, I've had my own shoes, my own bag. I've had several balls, bowling balls. So yeah, I guess I bowled a lot. I just haven't bowled in a long time. And I'm so out of shape, I can't even bowl. And bowling is a sport that's made for people who are out of shape. But I haven't gone bowling in a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I just thought there's no way. I don't care how much shit you spray into those shoes with COVID running around. I'm not going to be sharing shoes with thousands of other people and sticking my fingers into holes that other fingers have been stuck into holes. Again, man, I just wish I could just go off on that tangent in terms of all the terrible sexual jokes I could make about sticking fingers into the wrong holes. Oh, man. Anyway, bowling. I'm a fan. Now, I was flipping around on the TVs the other night, and I saw a commercial for this show on CBS called How We Roll. All right? It's a new sitcom on CBS, and it stars Pete Holmes. Pete Holmes, who I think is a very, very funny stand-up comedian. I've been a fan of his for a long time. He's a very good writer. He co-created, along with Judd Apatow, and starred in a show called Crashing, which was semi-autobiographical in nature, and it was about doing stand-up, getting your start in stand-up, giving up like your regular day job in order to pursue your dream to do stand-up. And it was, about this guy played by Pete Holmes, named Pete, who wanted to become a stand-up, so he started doing, open mics and late night stuff, and he starts to get in good. He wants to have a career. He becomes a warm-up comic on a TV show and all this other stuff. And it's about the day-to-day life of someone who's attempting to have a successful stand-up career. It's called Crashing because a lot of stand-ups don't they don't make a lot of money, so they have to crash on other people's couches and in other people's places, and that's what it's called, Crashing. And it had a ton of stand-up comedians making cameos as themselves. Pete Holmes, very well respected in the stand-up community as a performer and a writer. So, a ton of stand-up people are in it. There was a great storyline that involved Artie Lang as himself was in it. It was a terrific show. It was on HBO, and it was called Crashing. And it was terrific, and I'm a fan of Pete Holmes. Well, Pete Holmes is on this show now called How We Roll. And I saw the commercial for it, and it looked awful. CBS sitcom. And it's about bowling. He plays like a professional bowler who becomes, famous on the bowling circuit, and about his adventures as a bowling person, and the person who runs the bowling alley in his town is his sponsor, and he becomes sort of a national bowling guy. And it stars Pete Holmes and some other people, and Chai McBride is in it, and some other people. And so the only reason I wanted to watch, because it looked bad. I watched the trailer for it, and I was like, oh, this looks like shit. But I was like, I'm a Pete Holmes fan, and I love Crashing, and I love him. So I got through 9 minutes of one episode. 9 minutes, and I had to fucking turn it off. It's awful. It's as bad. Sitcoms, a lot of sitcoms suck, and a lot of CBS sitcoms in particular suck. Like, I don't understand, like, people who watch the Big Bang Theory, I don't understand it. I don't fucking get it. There's not even anything that's ever been remotely funny, and I want to punch every single person in character on that goddamn show, especially that Parsons jagoff. And then the young Sheldon and all that stuff. A lot of the CBS sitcoms, a lot of sitcoms in general, network sitcoms are bad. But in particular, for some reason, CBS is really good at making bad, like The Neighborhood, with Cedric the Entertainer and the dude from New Girl. That's a piece of shit. There's so many bad CBS sitcoms, but rarely do I not make it through 22 minutes of a sitcom. I had to turn off How We Roll after 9 minutes. So it goes into the world of, like, I was wondering, bowling. Have there ever been any other bowling TV shows besides the sports, the coverage of it, and the game shows like Bowling for Dollars or covering the national tour, and all that stuff with your Earl Anthonys and all the other guys? The only one I could think of was Ed, which wasn't really about bowling. Ed was this quirky little comedy with Tom Cavanaugh. He played a lawyer who buys a bowling alley and then has a law office in that bowling alley. And a lot of the people who bowl there and a lot of the people who hang out in this quirky town hang out in the bowling alley. Terrific show. Really liked it. Produced by David Letterman with a really terrific cast. I really liked it. And a lot of it takes place in a bowling alley. But that was really the only show, a TV show that I could think of, that, although it wasn't truly at its core about bowling, it took place at a bowling alley. And there are other shows that have had bowling episodes or people on the show consistently bowled, like You're Married with Children, and especially The Honeymooners and the Flintstones. They all had bowling subplots, but this How We Roll took place in a bowling alley, and it was about bowling. And Ed, much of it took place in a bowling alley, but I couldn't think of anything else. Then I got into bowling movies. And that's what I wanted to talk about, bowling movies. And there have been a bunch. And it's funny because I was doing a search to remind myself of some of the bowling movies that maybe I had forgotten about, because I could only think of about, like when I thought bowling movies, and I thought of about 5 or 6 of them off the top of my head. 3 of them really obvious, and I'll get to them in a second. But when I was doing a little search of bowling movies, There Will Be Blood was on the list of bowling movies. When I did a search for bowling movies, There Will Be Blood pops up. Presumably because because Daniel Day-Lewis fucking kills Paul Dano in his private bowling alley in his house with a bowling pin. He beats the fuck out of him with a bowling pin because the last 10 minutes of the movie takes place in a bowling alley. Suddenly, that's a bowling movie. Because, when I think There Will Be Blood, I think that's a bowling movie. But I love that. And Grease 2 popped up, and so did Across the Universe. Both of those musicals that involve bowling scenes. In Across the Universe, there's a musical number that they do in Across the Universe, Beatles movie that they do. And then Grease 2 has a legendary scene called We're Gonna Bowl Tonight, where Adrian Zmed leads the group in a bowling musical number. But anyway, those popped up. But I just thought it was hilarious. There Will Be Blood. If you're like, you do a search like on IMDb for bowling movies, There Will Be Blood will pop up on that list. But anyway, before I get to the most famous ones, there are some that I've never heard of before. Like, for instance, Alley Cat Strike with Kelly Cuoco, who's on that stupid-ass Big Bang Theory show. But she's also on The Flight Attendant. That's a good show. The Flight Attendant. But anyway, Alley Cat Strike, and I guess she was a Disney star at that time. I guess because it was a Disney Channel movie and it was a wacky, hey, kids go bowling, and Kelly Cuoco is in it. But I never heard of it, never saw it. Alley Cat Strike. You ever see that one? How about Adam, A-T-O-M, Adam, the Amazing Zombie Killer? How did I not see this movie? It's a horror movie. It's got zombies in it. It's stupid. How the fuck have I not seen it 15 times? Adam, the Atomic Zombie Killer, the Amazing Zombie Killer. I've never seen it. Have you seen it? Apparently this guy kills zombies in bowling alleys. All right, I should probably have memorized that movie by now. Gutterball, another horror movie. I've seen this one. This is another horror movie, sort of a slasher movie that takes place in a bowling alley. Gutterballs, because back in the 80s, slasher movies were just like every week a new slasher movie would come out. So they had to figure out, well, in what place should we kill teenagers? What's the setting for the next movie about teenage girls showing their tits and then getting killed? How can we do that? Oh, bowling alley. So Gutterballs. I saw that. I don't remember much of it, but I did see it. VHS. That's how old it is. Life in the Bowling Lane with Bob Zaney and Murray Langston. Bob Zaney, stand-up comedian. Listen, when you name yourself Zaney, that's good. You know what you're getting. It's truth in advertising. Hey, Bob Zaney. Hey, I'm Zaney. Bob Zaney. That's this guy's name. That's his stage name. He can't be anything but he can't be a priest. Father Zaney. Can you? Maybe you can. Anyway, Bob Zaney and Murray Langston. Now, if you don't know who Murray Langston is, that's the unknown comic. And if you don't know who the unknown comic is, you're fucking young. The unknown comic, Murray Langston, is a guy who would put a bag over his head, a paper bag over his head with eyes cut out. And the gag was that he was such a bad comedian that he told such corny and bad jokes that he didn't want his identity to be shown to the world. So he was the unknown comic. And he was hilarious. I love the unknown comic. And then, of course, you would find out that underneath that bag was a guy named Murray Langston who did movies like Night Shift, which was a wacky cop comedy with Linda Blair, who is also known for her comedic chops. But anyway, Murray Langston would be known as both Murray Langston and the unknown comic. But he was the unknown comic in this bowling movie with Bob Zaney called Life in the Bowling Lane. Now, I have to say, I think I caught about 15 or 20 minutes of this movie, and it's awful, of course. But yeah, if you want to watch some quality, you want some comedy, set it in a bowling alley, get a stand-up comedian who fucking calls himself Zany, and a guy with a bag over his head. But yeah, the unknown comic was mostly known for his appearances on The Gong Show. That's what really shot him to fame. He appeared on Make Me Laugh. He did the stand-up circuit. Unknown comic. Everybody knows who he is if you're, a certain age. I'm in my 50s, therefore I am intimately, familiar with the unknown comic. No, I didn't fuck him, but I'm familiar with the unknown comic. So there you go. And then you've got Sorority Babes in the slime in the what the hell is it called? In the Slime Ball Bowlerama. Now this was at a time. This is a Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bowlerama. Now this was at a time in the 80s when they were making the straight-to-video nasties and all that shit. And Linnea Quigley, who is a scream queen of biblical proportions. She's been in a ton of movies. She was in Silent Night, Deadly Night, Return of the Living Dead. She's been in a ton of stuff, Linnea Quigley, and she's known for starring in horror movies and showing her tits. That's basically what she's known for. And I've met her. She's wonderful, lovely woman. She's done the horror movie circuit for years and years and years, the horror convention circuit for years and years. She's a lovely woman, and she's awesome, and she's a legendary. She's a scream queen who showed her boobs. That's basically what she's known for. And this Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl-orama, that's another VHS movie. That's one of those movies you brought home on a Saturday night if you were a lonely kid. I'll just watch Linnea Quigley show her tits and bowl and get killed. And it was a slasher movie that took place in a bowling alley in the 80s with Linnea Quigley. So there's another one for you. Now, and then some of the other ones, there was League of Ordinary Gentlemen, which was a documentary about bowling. There was 710 Split with Tara Reid from American Pie. Whatever happened to her? Tara Reid. American Pie, she was in Josie and the Pussycats. Not really seen much since then. But she was in a wacky, I've never seen this one, 710 Split. The video box is pretty cool. It's pretty classic. It's like, this is zany. It's a 710 Split starring the chick from American Beauty and American Pie. What could be more American than an American Beauty and American Pie in a bowling alley? 710 Split. Don't know it. So there haven't been that many, but now we get into the ones that you've heard of. Now, it's not a bowling movie, but Mystery Men, which is a movie that people love. It's a superhero movie that people love, and for some unbelievable reason, people really love that movie. It's Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, William Macy, Hank Azaria, and they play a group of weird superheroes with superpowers or weird things. And Janine Garofalo, I don't know what her character's name is. I think it might be the fucking bowler. I don't know. But she's got a bowling ball that's like possessed by her father or some shit, and she throws it at people and their heads explode. I don't know. But anyway, it's Mystery Men, and that's got a bowling element to it. Because one of the major characters, Janine Garofalo, one of the superheroes, her superpower is a bowling ball. Yeah, that's how good that movie is. People like that movie. Drunk? Okay. And let's see. All right, now we got to get into the big ones. These are the big ones right here. You got the Jesus Rolls, which is the sequel to The Big Lebowski that John Turturro wrote and directed, where he plays Jesus, and it's the story of Jesus is a very hilarious supporting character in The Big Lebowski, but he got his own movie thanks to Turturro, and some of the characters from Big Lebowski, supporting characters, show up in it, but it is Jesus' story. So the Jesus Rolls. That's out there. Not a great movie, but it's kind of fun, especially if you're a Big Lebowski fan. And then we get into the three big ones. All right, let's just go with The Big Lebowski. I don't think The Big Lebowski is the best bowling movie ever made. Some would disagree. I think a majority of the people out there, especially Big Lebowski fanatics who attend Lebowski Fest and dress up and bowl every year, would disagree with me and probably punch me in the face or smash me across the mouth with a 16-pound bowling ball. But I don't think it's the best bowling movie ever made. It is a great movie. It is a hilarious movie. It's one of my favorites, and it stars the greatest actor on the planet, my favorite actor of all time, Jeff Bridges, in what I guess is his most iconic role. But yes, I love The Big Lebowski. Don't get me wrong. I love The Big Lebowski. I've seen it a million times. I know it by heart. By the way, when The Big Lebowski came out, I was on board before everybody else. You all hated it when it first came out. You all fucking hated The Big Lebowski when it first came out. I know I went with a group of friends. They all hated it. I loved it. I was the only one who loved it. Everybody hated it because it was the Coen brothers follow-up to Fargo, and it's as far removed from, an Academy Award nominated and winning, critically acclaimed movie, quirky movie, and they follow it up with a pothead bowling, LA underground LA detective story, a noir movie. And that's what they followed up with. Everybody hated that movie. You did. You hated it. Don't fucking lie to me. Everybody hated that movie. I did not. I loved The Big Lebowski from the first moment I saw it. You didn't. You didn't. Period. That's a fact. All of you fucking people hated The Big Lebowski when you first saw it. People were like, are you not, when it was over? All of my friends, I went with like 5 or 6 people. They were all like, that movie was terrible. How could the Coen brothers follow the masterpiece Fargo with this piece of shit? And then like a year later, people were like, oh, The Big Lebowski's pretty cool. And 10 years later, yeah, The Big Lebowski's the greatest movie ever made. I love it, man. I've loved it since the beginning. No, you didn't. You hated it when you saw it in the theater in 1998. Now you love it. Oh yeah, now, 20 years later, oh, it's the best movie ever made. Learn. Anyway, Big Lebowski, awesome, fantastic bowling movie, a quintessential classic bowling movie. Not the best bowling movie ever made. Now, the one that I remember when I was a teenager was Dreamer. You ever see this movie? With Tim Matheson. Yes, Tim Matheson. From Otter, from Animal House. Tim Matheson from Up the Creek. Tim Matheson from Fletch. He's been in a bunch of other shit too. He was on Evil. He's on the great show Evil, which is coming back for its third season in a couple of months. Anyway, Tim Matheson plays a bowler in it. Susan Blakely is his love interest. Jack Warden is his scruffy father. And he wants to become a professional bowler. And I remember it was like, they advertised like, it's Rocky, but with bowling. Dreamer. Now, if you've never seen this movie, it's pretty bad. I remember, like, it is really set up like a Rocky movie. You're supposed to root for him. Like, oh, God, I hope he gets a strike. Oh, shit. He left 3 standing. Damn it. And it was supposed to be this really exciting underdog sports movie where you're supposed to cheer for bowling. Bowling is not an inherently exciting sport. I don't think that you can make a true exciting, tear-jerking underdog movie based on fucking bowling. But they tried. And Dreamer with Tim Matheson was that movie. I remember I saw it. I think I was 14 or 15 when it came out. And I believe that might have been at the height of my bowling, because I bowled on league since I was like 10. And I went to see this movie. And I remember the big deal was that, I think 7 people saw the movie. But I remember the big deal was when in order for him to warm up, he did a lot of blowing on his fingers. He did a lot of that in the movie. I remember that was like, oh, he's getting serious now. He's blowing on his fucking fingers. Uh-oh. Dreamer's dreaming. Watch out, pins. And I remember that was a big deal. And he was the good guy and there was a bad bowler and all this other shit. It's a terrible movie. It's a ridiculous movie. But it took itself very seriously. It was this is a real underdog sport movie that takes itself very seriously. And the sport of bowling very, very seriously. And when he started blowing on his fingers, well, you watch out, man. You were in trouble. Tim Matheson starts blowing on his fingers, you're fucked. You're fucked. Jack Warden running around, and he was just like screaming during the whole movie. Susan Blakely. Yeah, no, that movie got a major theatrical release. It was released on 1,000 screens. It was seen by people who paid money. An underdog serious bowling movie where the main character, his big thing was blowing on his fingers. Watch out, man. Watch out. So yeah, Dreamer, if you've not seen it, classic, 1979 piece of shit bowling movie, Dreamer. Now, we've mentioned some of the other ones, but for me, and this is, to me it's obvious, the greatest bowling movie ever made. Come on. It's Kingpin. Kingpin is the best bowling movie of all time. Kingpin is a better bowling movie than The Big Lebowski. It is. Sorry, but it is. It's the greatest bowling movie ever made. It's the best Farrelly Brothers movie of all time. It's one of the only Farrelly Brothers movies that aged well. Like, a lot of their movies have not aged. Like, There's Something About Mary. A lot of the shit they made after There's Something About Mary, not good. The Siamese twin movies with Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear, whoa. So a lot of their post There's Something About Mary movies are all pretty shitty. And as far as I'm a fan of Dumb and Dumber. I think Dumb and Dumber is hilarious. But Kingpin is classic. Kingpin's one of the funniest movies of the 90s. To me, it's one of the funniest movies of all time. I mean, I love Kingpin. Woody Harrelson is unbelievably funny in it. Lynn Shay as the disgusting landlord is brilliant in it. Randy Quaid is great in it. Vanessa Angel is fantastic in it. I don't know whatever happened to her. It was hilarious. It's a great sports movie. And fucking Bill Murray is legendary in it. Bill Murray is unbelievable in it. It's one of the best Bill Murray performances of all time. He infamously improvised almost 90% of his dialogue in that movie. But yeah, he's the Big Earn. I mean, one of the greatest performances ever. He's unbelievably funny. One of the greatest supporting comedic performances in the history of movies. And by the way, when he needed to roll those strikes at the end of the movie, that's Bill Murray. He rolled those fucking strikes. That's Bill Murray. Bill Murray, good bowler, real good bowler. His hair, everything about that movie, the sight gags. It is incredibly tasteless. It was rated PG-13. Go back and watch Kingpin now and understand that fucking movie was rated PG-13. I have no idea how they got away with it. That's an R-rated movie. The tastelessness, the way that the jokes are handled. I mean, just the sheer, absolute disgust and tastelessness of that movie is on a biblical level, and I worship it. I love that movie. It is as coarse and as cheap and as lowbrow as you can possibly get, and it's a work of genius. By far the best movie that the Farrelly brothers ever made, and it's a great bowling movie. It lovingly pays respect to bowling while also mocking it, because bowling is a ridiculous sport. Fat drunks bowl. Goofballs bowl. Anybody can bowl. Any moron can walk in, take a ball, and whip it down the lane and knock some shit over. It is inherently a really stupid sport, and it's about destruction and whipping shit and busting shit. It's fantastic. It's a great way to get your aggression out. But it is, at its core, bowling is a really fucking stupid sport. It also represents the working class. It also represents people who, like any kind of level of human being can bowl. And the people that are best known for bowling are working class stiffs. Are people that aren't like, there's not a lot of rich folks and a lot of classy people, pretentious people look down upon bowling. Well, fuck you. Bowling is awesome. It's hilarious. It is also lowbrow and stupid. It's a dumb sport. And real bowlers know that and embrace that. We don't take it too seriously, which is why Kingpin is the best bowling movie ever made. So there you go. Kingpin, best bowling movie ever made. Real close, Big Lebowski. And, of course, There Will Be Blood. Anyway, so I just thought about bowling movies and bowling TV. If I'm missing any bowling movies, let me know. Leave it here on the comments at the YouTubes or on the comments at the Patreon page after you donate and become a patron. Thank you very much. It helps. Please do. And this How We Roll with Pete Holmes is fucking terrible. It's terrible. Like I said, I got 9 minutes into it and had to turn it off. So anyway, bowling rules. And again, I don't want to talk about that particular game. 289. I was that close. I was real close. Never rolled a 300. Bowled a lot. Never rolled a 300. I have friends who've bowled 300s. Never did. Anyway. All right. I love bowling, but I don't like how we roll. So there you go. All right, everybody. We're gonna bowl tonight. Grease 2!